Well, welcome everyone. It's a little different show this week, but we got something really good and interesting for you. It's a little different setup. My host is not here with me, but we had some traveling this week. Look at some field trials down in Florida, so we're doing something a little bit different. We wanted to bring y'all something, and we got Mr. Donnie Glover on with us tonight. Mr. Donnie is a good friend of Hoss, and I'm going to try to give you a little introduction there, Mr. Donnie. If I mess it up, you for all means,
Thank you.
straighten me out. But Mr. Donnie lives in mid-state Mississippi, a little town called Greenville, Mississippi, which is, if you was to draw a line over, it's about even with Birmingham as far as the north, how north it is. And Mr. Donnie's like me. He's an old soul, and we've been around the block a time or two, and we love gardening. And Mr. Donnie's a retired soybean and corn breeder. And we love, when we get a chance to get together, we love to talk about gardening. And Mr. Donnie is a avid gardener, and he is a member of our Row by Row Facebook group. If you're not familiar with that, you got to find out about it. It's a Facebook group that we host there on called Row by Row that's full of gardening enthusiasts. If you want to grow your own backyard vegetable garden, you need to be a part of it. People like Mr. Donnie is there to help you along with your journey. With saying all that, welcome, Mr. Donnie.
Well, thank you very much, Greg. I appreciate it, and glad to be here with y'all today, and love to talk gardening.
Yeah, absolutely. So how big is your garden?
Well, it's not really that big. I have, of course, now I last year we invested in a high tunnel, and it's 14 by 50, and that's all the main garden that I have this fall is just in the high tunnel. I have cover crops on everything else. I have one garden that has 10 50-foot beds in it that are 40 inches wide with 18-inch alleys. It fits my tractor. And then I have a smaller garden that has 3 40-foot beds that are the same configuration. I think it's 60 inches on centers. And then I got, or 58 inches on centers. And then I have about a 40-inch flat top bed. And then I have permanent paths. I only work the beds. So
what kind of cover crops are you growing this
well,
season?
I have 3 different cover crops this year on my new sweet potato ground. I'm trying to eliminate all the diseases and the wireworms and things. So I have one of the hot mustards on it, and it's Caliente 199. It's specifically bred to release the biofumigant gas when it's green manured or tilled in green. And gosh, it's already knee high. I irrigated it to get it up, and hopefully when I till it, I'll till it up and then tarp it, and I'll have time then to make my rows and put out my sweet potato slips. Hopefully I can get rid of any of the soil insects, the wireworms, or anything that on that sweet potato ground. And then on my cucurbic ground where I grow the vine and things, the cucumbers and the cantaloupes and things like that, I have wheat mixed with that mustard. And you can use just about any mustard. I just happened to, I ordered some of that just to see what it's like. It grows really big. And then on the main set of beds where I'm going to have some grass crops and things, I've got wheat on it. And it really hadn't rained enough to get that wheat going. It's been really dry here. And but I do value the cover crops, and they're very important. Wheat will come up when it does rain. Hopefully in the next few days it'll rain.
Yeah, so, wheat's a crop we started carrying this fall here. I think it's one of the best cover crops out there. You know, it being a monocot, it works really good for rotation where you're going to plant those cucurbits back.
Yeah.
Anything now personally, I think you'd probably be better off to if you're going to plant corn, to probably go with a legume before that. You agree with that?
Oh yeah, Where I'm going corn next year, it had peas on it this year, so I rotate a little bit to a broadleaf to a grass to a broadleaf to a grass. But where it fell, I needed to plant wheat on that whole block, so it'll be all right.
Oh yeah, any of it's better than nothing. And black oats is a good one. Have you ever grown that one?
I hadn't
I've
grown
grown
that.
that
I raised some wheat grain, so I have wheat seed, and
yeah,
I just happen to have it. So because I plant wheat on my place besides that, wheat for grain, and I also grow wheat pastures for my animals.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
but
Wheat, black oats, rye, any of those are great for crops to kind of cleanse your soil a little bit, get everything kind of straightened out, and especially if you're going to grow things like cucurbits or anything like that. And as far as the mustard goes, the one we carry is called Kodiak Brown. That's
yeah.
above. What is your thoughts? And I tell you what mine are. When's the ideal time to till that in? I've always been told and thought it was right before bolt.
Well, before it flowers and makes seed for sure. I want maximum dry matter. I
Right.
want as much vegetative material as I can get. And I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it about 30 days before I want to plant. And I'm going to green manure it in 30 days and then till it in and then tarp it. And that will hold in any of the gases that's produced from the degradation of the cells. And that particular the mustards, the Kodiak mustard, they all do it good. And that basically biofumigates the soil. It's been done a long time in Europe. It's a pretty established thing in Europe where they get 36 inches tall and they green manure it with rototillers. And I'm going to mow it first. I'm going to mulch it take a zero turn, cut it down, and then I'm going to mulch it in there because my rows are really ready to go, and I'm just going to till it into the top of the rows. I have all my rows all put up for next year. All my land preparations done except for the final seedbed preparation.
Ready to go.
Try to, because may not be able to do it next spring. I have physical limitations. Going to have a physical limitation of driving a tractor for a couple of months after January. So I have to have everything done as I can.
Right. A little side note on what we was talking about on biofumigates. This is something that we figured out a few years ago. So we had a big cabbage patch that we went in there and haired up real quick, and we wanted to flip that cabbage patch and plant something back there. So we did. We went there and haired it one day and planted the next, real quick, trying to turn it over. We got basically zero germination.
Mm-hmm.
Biofumigate. So any of these brassicas, all of them will release a biofumigate. Now, the Kodiak Brown and some of the mustards are better than others. So if you're growing specifically for that, that's just a side note. Let everybody, I don't know whether you're growing broccoli or whatever. When you do work it into the soil, give it a few days before you replant, or you could have the same issue we did. They will biofumigate with gas up and keep seed from germinating.
Yeah, it'll kill the weed seed. It'll kill the insects. It'll kill the fungal pathogens. Like I have my on the bed where I'm gonna grow tomatoes. I have brassicas growing this fall. My broccoli, cauliflower, cabbage, my kale, all those are growing right where the tomatoes are going to be next year, and then they'll be finished by Christmas. And then I can't tarp it where it's at in the high tunnel, but I'll till it and let it set till spring.
Right. All right, let's get into what we're doing this fall. I wanted to talk today about winter gardening, because winter gardening is something don't everybody do. We've been doing it for years. It's a great time to grow those things that you don't ordinarily think about. And we grow a lot of winter garden stuff around here. I mean, a lot of it. The ideal time for us is around the 1st of October to get it into the ground. From therefore going forward, we have good, normally length of day in a day. We've been short on moisture this year, but normally we have a little bit of moisture to get things growing. And here's the best thing. You have most of those leafy plants, vegetables available for the holidays. Come Christmas time, Thanksgiving, you're going to be able to have some of those mustard, turnips, kohlrabi, whatever, have them ready. And that's one reason we love planting in the 1st of October. Now, one thing that we ate the other night, we planted some radishes in raised beds, and Mama Hoss roasted some radishes. One of the viewers had told us to roast some with olive oil and some seasonings on there. Off the chain. First time I had ever eat radishes that way. But a lot of these vegetables are, boy, they lovely to eat when it gets cooler weather. I think about collards, I think about turnips and mustard and all those kind of things. So talk to me, Mr. Donnie, what have you got growing in that winter garden?
Well, I start about the 1st of September. When you say October, I grow on my own plants. So I really start about the 1st of September.
Yeah, I'm talking about putting it in the soil around the 1st of October is ideal for me.
Got to start about the 1st of September. You right. gotta plant your onion seed, plant your brassicas, and it may be a little bit too hot sometimes at that time of the year to get them to germinate. So I have germinated them in the house under air conditioner. As soon as they come up, then you can take them outside or wherever you're going to grow them under a shade tree or whatever and transplant them. I plant them bulk and then transplant them into trays. And it's worked real good this year. And
I can grow brassicas in pretty much steadily. I can grow a brassica transplant in about 4 to 5 weeks, pretty much all the time. Now, onions is going to take me anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks, and I lean toward that 8 weeks on the onions. But I can grow a brassica in, if everything goes well, in 4 to 5 weeks, pretty easy.
You can grow them faster than I can. I don't know why. I guess it may be a little hotter up here or something, but they're a little slower. But boy, their cabbages are making heads right now, and the broccoli and cauliflower's planted 2 feet apart, and they're solid on the row, right now. And they will be ready. In fact, in the high tunnel, I just direct seeded some broccoli for a second crop.
Yep.
And it's warm enough right now that it'll germinate right there in the hill. I plant 4 or 5 seeds, in the hill, and then thin them. And I did some lettuce like that too, where I can have a second crop. Because if it doesn't get real cold, even up into January and February, you can have the brassicas. They're especially cabbage. Cabbage is very tolerant to freezing weather, more so than cauliflower. Cauliflower will freeze, but broccoli's not too bad. Of course, broccoli will produce the second shoots that I think sometimes are better than the big old heads, But that's you can have, with the price of groceries these days. I don't see how anybody that's able to have a garden doesn't have a garden, because you can easily grow a couple $100 a month of vegetables, of groceries in your backyard. It doesn't take a very big place with some raised beds, because my high tunnel is basically a raised bed system. Even though I don't have the lumber, it's just wood soil raised beds, but it's a raised bed system. And of course, we had to irrigate it to get it up. You have to irrigate at transplanting. So a drip irrigation system is almost required in the fall garden, But we got English peas that are flowering right now, and barring a hard freeze, they'll make some fall English peas. Seems like my English peas usually freeze. Well, we'll see, because I'm a little bit farther north than you are. I'm just I'm almost in 7B. It's just right up the road, 7B for me, but I'm in 8A, but it gets pretty cold. We were 26 the other morning with a heavy frost. And
26?
26, it was on my, my
we was
thermometer.
37, so you're good 10, 11 degrees, yeah.
Well, I'm kind of low as well. I'm in a low elevation place because I'm right on the Mississippi River. And In fact, if the Mississippi River goes to flood stage, the water level is 16 feet above my bed. So I worry
Wow.
about it when it comes to flood. Of course, we got a good levee, and I got flood
Yeah.
insurance.
Yeah.
But
So you speaking of groceries, we went to the grocery store last night and we bought $327 worth of groceries.
I
And
know.
we got in the car. Of course, I was mumbling and complaining about $327. But we got trying to remember the last time we bought groceries. It has been probably 2 months since we bought groceries. We've been eating out of the garden, eating out of the freezer, and it had been forever. Now, I know $327 don't sound like a lot to a lot of folks, but it just burns me up when I have to spend that much money on groceries. But man, at what I don't realize sometimes how much we save by eating out of the garden. Of course, we have most of our meat in the freezer, hogs and cows and deer meat that we eat off of, but we just don't go buy groceries very often. The staples is all we need is just butter and some oil and a little bit of meal here and there, and flour. That's basically all we need.
I'm right there with you. I know that, we still have good Irish potatoes from spring. They got little sprouts on them, but you break off the sprouts and they're fine. Of course, we got world sweet potatoes and all this okra that I put in the freezer. I ate the first okra from the freezer yesterday. We just cut the okra down here right before this freeze. So
Yeah.
it made for 3.5 or 4 months of food, just a
Wow.
little okra patch.
Yep. And those sweet potatoes, man, Mama Hoss made me some sweet potato souffle the other night. Woo, that stuff was off the chain. Sweet potatoes to me, I don't know why everybody don't grow sweet potatoes. I got several basketfuls out there in the barn, and all we have to do is walk up there and get us some potatoes out of the barn there. We want a good meal there. That with a little pork, that's plenty for a supper time meal, and it is absolutely delicious.
Well, sweet potatoes is the number one survival food, if you will. It's high carbohydrate and has a lot of protein in it too, more than Irish potatoes. But
Yeah, it'll fatten the old boy up. It's on the slim side.
Yeah, well, we try to cook them so we like them in the air fryer, air fried sweet potatoes, and I do make the casseroles though with some brown sugar. It's just a little too good,
Yeah, it is.
But
All right,
it's
so let's get into some of the specifics of winter garden. And let's start off with radishes and beets. I gave my little bit of spiel a while ago on radishes. Now, radishes, most people don't know this, but you can grow those things off 45, 50 days easy. So it's a quick turnaround. Most time you need to succession plant them if you got room there. About over 2 to 3 weeks, plant you another plant, and you can have radishes going all the way into the wintertime. Another one that I just started growing a few years ago was beets. And I know there's going to be a lot of people out there talking about, I don't like beets. Well, you ain't never had them prepared properly in my book. Beets, if they're prepared properly, are delicious. I even got where I love them pickled. And I never eat a pickled beet coming up. We've been pickling beets the last few years. Another thing is beet greens. Mr. Donnie, you ever had any beet greens? Those are delicious.
Yes, sir.
Yep.
Yes, sir. I got a beet trial growing this year. Got 6 different kinds of beets in it, and they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And one of the keys, my wife won't eat them unless I peel them. She doesn't like the peeling. She says the peeling has an earthy flavor, tastes like dirt. And if you peel them and roast them and serve them with a little bit of goat cheese, she loves them that way. But I can't get her to eat the peeling. That's the thing.
Yeah, I've never thought about that, but some of them do have more of an earthy flavor than others.
That's the peeling.
Yeah, speaking of trials, I sent Mr. Donnie some varieties to work on this year to trial out. So we're looking at some new beet varieties. Excuse me. For next year, we've got a breeder up in Illinois that is really working on some interesting beets, and I'm excited to see what some of those come out. I got a couple of them growing in my garden as well. Now, beets, to me, if you've never had them boiled or cooked in chicken broth, is off the chain. So that's a good one there as well. But I got Scott where I love beets. Now, as a younger person, I probably didn't care much for them because I never had them prepared properly. But beets is a wonderful there. You can pickle them and whatever you need to do. And it doesn't take a lot of them. One row, 20-foot long, 10-foot long, produce a lot of beets. I normally direct seed mine. I know a lot of people transplant them, and I plant mine pretty thick, about 4 inches apart.
I've got mine too thick. I need to go thin them. It was pretty hot when I planted them, and I was afraid they wouldn't come up, and I got too many. I've thinned on them once, but it takes a lot of dedication to thin stuff. I tell you, I have trouble with that.
Carrots and beets and radishes, everything like that, I normally have to go back and kind of thin them out a little bit because you want to plant them a little bit thick, and you should. But that thinning process hurts your soul sometimes. All right, greens. And then we're going to get into this right here because you got to have those greens for Thanksgiving. Got to have them. Spinach, turnips, mustard, collards. Oh, man, rutabagas. Mr. Donnie, what's your favorite water you grow?
Oh, I'm a spinach guy. I love raw spinach. I put it, and I say raw, I put it in scrambled eggs and on sandwiches, and I'm a spinach guy. And I like kale too. And I'm growing some red Russian kale this year for the first time. And it's really pretty. I've been harvesting it. I've got a big patch of greens that I'm fixing to harvest here next week. And we're going to have, I'm going to put some pork in there with them. We're going to have we're going to have greens and grits and greens. Have some of that Jimmy Red grits that I grew. And I'm going to put them on them greens. Have grits and greens. Man, ain't nothing better. And
do you like a baby-sized spinach or full-size spinach?
Either one. I like them both. Now, I start harvesting them when they're little. And I have some of the small, I don't remember the variety, the small leaf spinach that kind of grows prostrate a little bit. And then I grow some of the big leaf stuff, and that's more for laying on a sandwich. I eat spinach instead of lettuce a lot of times. I don't know why. It's just I mix it in a salad too with the lettuce. We'll get to lettuce in a minute. I got lettuce coming out my ears. Can't give it all. Yeah, lettuce. And but spinach has done real well this year.
There's a couple of varieties out there that I tried last year. We actually added one of them, but the Imperial Beach and what was the other one? Imperial Beach. And there was another one I tried beside one another, which is a full leaf Italian leaf. They call it Italian type. Has those big leaves to it. And those did really well. I can't remember. There was two Imperials. Anyway, I couldn't tell the difference.
I can't remember what I planted. I got it from Hoss. I don't remember.
Yeah. But that is
remember which one.
I mean, I love that. I love that Imperial spinach there. Look here, anybody that lives on further north than what we're talking about, spinach is an ideal green for you to grow because it will tolerate more cold than any other green out there.
You can't kill it. You can dig it out from under the snow and eat it. Right. Kale too. Both of those will grow all the way up into Michigan.
Yep. So on the kale, I am trialing a variety called Black Magic. Mr. Donnie, I already sent you some seeds on these right here, but this Black Magic came highly recommended to me. If you're familiar with High Mowing Organic Seeds out of up north, I'm good friends with those folks there, and they told me we had to trial out the Black Magic, and I have, and it looks good so far. I've not eaten any of it, but Black Magic looks real similar to Dinosaur or Lacinato kale, but it has a lot darker color to it. It has more vigor. It's more productive variety, so it's interesting to see how that does. I love kale as well. One of my favorite things to grow is collard greens. I love collard greens, and the variety I've been growing for the last couple of years is Top Chop. Love Top Chop. It's real similar to Top Bunch, more heat tolerant, but it's one of those smaller varieties that we call bunching type variety collards. Now, one interesting thing I did last year is I got a hold of me a couple of old heirloom variety of a cabbage collard and an Alabama blue collard. And I grew those out. They were good. Don't get me wrong. They were good. They were unusual. The cabbage collard was kind of a yellow collard, real sweet flavor to it. It wasn't quite as productive as we normally see with some of these early varieties and some of these new ones, but they were absolutely delicious and had very unique color to them. probably not something I'd grow every year, but it was interesting. I love growing collards. Have you grown any? Go ahead.
You know, collards and kale is almost exchangeable. The people up north and out west, they eat kale, and people in the south, they tend to go to collards. And if you go to a geographical region, you can get kale, but you can't get collards. And if you go to other geographical region, you can get collards, but you can't get kale. So it's funny. I take my folks out in Oklahoma. I tell them I'm bringing a load of kale when I come visit, and they just love it. And I said, y'all want some collards? Got plenty of those too. And they don't even know how to cook them. So it's almost a geographical thing, but there's nothing beats, you get the right kind of pork and putting them collards. I mean, I don't know whether it's the pork or the collards, but you can't beat it. And it's a very sustainable food as well. You can grow worlds of it and it'll last all year.
Well, the nutritionists, and I just had this conversation yesterday with one of the breeders. The nutritionists go back and forth about the most nutritious vegetable out there. Some will say it's collard, some will say it's kale. Kind of goes back and forth there, which one is the best for you. But I got a hold by mistake. Now, I'm going to tell you this little story. Last year, I got an envelope in the mail, and it was from one of the breeders out there in California, and they had a little brown envelope in there. Wasn't nothing in there but a brown envelope, and it was unlike sample seed that I normally get. This was handwritten on the thing, Kalards. So I got them, didn't think much about it. In a few days, I got a phone call. Greg, did you get a package? I said, yeah. Well, you got it by mistake. I said, yeah. She said, somebody sent you this, and this is top secret stuff. But one of the breeders out there had crossed kale with collards, and they come up with Kalards. And I planted me a crop of them, and they were good. Don't get me wrong. They were good. A little unusual, but they were good. But I thought that was interesting, Kalards. Now, you may, within the next year or two, see Kalards on the marketplace, or you may not. I'm not sure if they're going to bring them out or not. But they crossed a kale and a collard and got Kalards. And they're doing some more work with it. I'm not sure if it's going to make the cut or not, but it's very interesting.
Well, when you cross something like that, you get a lot of children out of it, and you plant those things out, and there's a lot of difference in the children, and you pick out the children that's the best, the progeny. And once you make a wide cross like that, go after the progeny that are the best. And you may have got a population that was surrogating,
Well, they've done quite a bit of work with it. Believe it or not, the ones I planted was very consistent. I was worried about that, but they were very consistent. So I think they got it fairly well stabilized. Stabilized is probably a bad word, but I think they got it.
No, that's exactly what it is. Genetically stabilized.
Yeah. I think they're worried about the marketability more than having the right product there. But it's interesting anyway, to say the least.
Yeah.
And you mentioned English peas a while ago. Let me tell you my problem with English peas, and you brought it up well.
Rabbits.
They hit and miss with me. Some years I make a good crop, and some years I lose them. It's just, and if you grow English peas or snow peas, you're gonna have the same issue. You're gonna do good, or you're gonna fail with them.
Rabbits. Rabbits. Man, the rabbits love English peas more than anything.
So I had a guy, old timer in here the other day, because Mr. Donnie, I have a terrible problem with rabbits. I had an old timer here. They told me something I've never heard before. He said, take sweet milk. And what he meant by sweet milk was take regular cow milk and put it out there and sling it on the plant with a paintbrush. And he said, when that milk goes rancid or spoils, it will keep the rabbits away. And I've never heard that before.
It's a new one
Have
on
you ever
me.
had any experience with that? Yeah,
that's a new one on me. I put electric net fence all the way around my garden and around my high tunnel, and there's not even a turtle gets in there with that Premier One electric poultry netting.
Yeah.
And that 6-joule charger.
Yeah.
Sometimes it keeps me out, Tell you,
yeah,
it works.
We don't have much of a deer problem, but rabbits torment me, just torment. I'm going to try the milk thing and see if it works, and I'll report back to you.
Oh, that'd be interesting.
All right, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts. Do you grow any of those?
I have grown Brussels sprouts, and I about decided that I can't do it. I've
Fella got to have
I
patience
get
for those.
disease in them so bad,
Yep.
you know, after they freeze a little bit, and because it takes forever to grow a Brussels sprout. I mean, you plant them in the fall and you hope you can get them harvested in March, you know. But I get diseases in them, and I don't want to spray them every week with fungicides. I don't like to use chemicals if I can keep from it. But I've decided that's one thing that if my wife wants Brussels sprouts, we'll have to go buy some frozen ones, you know. It's just very difficult. Some people have great success with it. There's some commercial production there in North Florida.
Yep.
But I don't know. They know how to do it and I don't, I guess.
Yep. Absolutely. I have the same thing. I don't grow them every year. I grow them every now and then, but you got to have patience for those. I love to grow a few cauliflower every now and then. It's not a staple of mine, but I love to grow cauliflower now. And I tell people we got a variety called Twister. It's my favorite variety right now, but there's all kind of cauliflowers out there.
That's the only one I'll grow.
Yep.
It won't turn yellow on you.
Right. Well, we have talked about winter gardening. I hope we've inspired somebody, Mr. Donnie, if they hadn't done it before, they got to get out there and plant them some winter gardening, some fall gardening.
Even if you just plant some grow bags on your patio, you can grow all your lettuce, all your salad fixings right there on your patio, and frost won't really hurt that stuff.
Speaking of that, I got 2 grow bags right now full of lettuce out there. And that's the way I've been growing my lettuce as of lately, is in grow bags, because I can keep it so much cleaner, and it just seems to do real well.
Yeah, I have a bunch of those protein tubs, you know, from the cattle farm, and I use those, and I grow all my onion plants in those, and grow. So I grow some onions too. Oh, and my Tom onions. We got so many Tom onions. We're eating them like crazy.
Yeah,
man, those things multiply like crazy.
I tell people, I said, you don't worry about it. Before long, you're going to have more than what you can share with all your family.
I've given them away to everybody. Will take them.
Yep. Onions, greens, radishes, beets, all these kind of things you can enjoy in the winter. No excuse for where you live at, because up north you can grow those spinach and stuff. So I hope maybe today, Mr. Donnie, we've inspired somebody to grow a winter garden. Look here, if you've not been on our Robo Road, you got to get on there. Mr. Donnie is on there pretty regular, helping people out. Mr. Donnie, we sure appreciate you.
I'm glad to be able to help anybody that needs it. I've spread the backyard grocery store, you know, because that's exactly what it is.
Yep, absolutely. Well, thank you, Mr. Donnie, and you keep them folks out in Mississippi straight, and we're going to do our best to keep these Georgia folks straight. And until next time, get dirty.
Thank you.